Hey there! Welcome back to my channel where we explore all things related to personal development and self-improvement. In today's video, I am going to be talking about 5 signs that your emotions are lying to you. Emotions are powerful and can sometimes cloud our judgment, causing us to make decisions that aren't in our best interest. So, let's get started. Sign 1. Extreme emotions. Extreme emotions are an indicator that your emotions may be lying to you. This is because when emotions are intense, they can hijack our logical thinking and reasoning, making it difficult to make rational decisions. For example, if you receive a compliment from someone, you may feel extreme happiness and begin to overestimate your abilities, or become overconfident. Conversely, if you receive criticism or negative feedback, you may experience extreme sadness or anger, which can cause you to become defensive and not hear the feedback objectively. It's important to recognize extreme emotions as a sign that your emotions may be lying to you, and take a step back to evaluate the situation more objectively. The experience of extreme emotions can be triggered by various factors such as traumatic life events, ongoing stressors, mental health disorders, substance abuse, or physical illness. It can also be a symptom of underlying mental health conditions such as bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), and major depression. Individuals experiencing extreme emotions may exhibit a range of behaviors such as impulsive actions, self-harm, suicidal thoughts, reckless behavior, substance abuse, and mood swings. These behaviors can be harmful to themselves and those around them. Sign 2. Overgeneralization. Overgeneralization is when you take one experience or situation and apply it to everything in your life. This is an indication that your emotions may be lying to you, because it can cause you to make assumptions that aren't accurate. People who catastrophize may believe that the worst-case scenario is inevitable and that they are unable to cope with it. They may also engage in what-if thinking, imagining worst-case scenarios and becoming overwhelmed with anxiety and fear. This type of thinking can lead to avoidance behaviors. Catastrophizing can be a feature of various mental health conditions such as anxiety disorders, panic disorder, and depression. It can also be a coping mechanism for dealing with difficult or stressful situations. To overcome catastrophizing, it is important to challenge the negative thoughts and beliefs that underlie it. This can involve identifying the evidence for and against the belief, examining the context and circumstances of the situation, and considering alternative explanations and perspectives. Mindfulness techniques, such as meditation and deep breathing, can also be helpful in reducing anxiety and calming the nervous system. Cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) is a common treatment approach that helps individuals identify and modify cognitive distortions, including catastrophizing. Sign 4. Rationalising. Rationalising is when you make excuses for your behavior or justify your actions, even if they're not in your best interest. This is a sign that your emotions may be lying to you because it can cause you to make decisions that are not in alignment with your values and goals. For example, if you're in a toxic relationship, rationalising can cause you to justify staying in it because you're afraid of being alone, or believe that things will get better. It's important to recognize when you're rationalising and try to take a step back to evaluate the situation objectively and make decisions that are in alignment with your values and goals. Rationalising involves creating a plausible explanation that seems logical and reasonable, but is ultimately based on distorted thinking or false assumptions. This can involve denying or minimizing the severity of a situation, shifting blame onto others, or using double standards to justify behavior. For example, a person who is addicted to drugs may rationalize their behavior by saying they use drugs to cope with stress, or that they only use them recreationally and are not addicted. A person who is cheating on their partner may rationalize their behavior by saying they're not getting their needs met in the relationship, or that their partner is not providing enough emotional support. Sign 5. Lack of empathy. A lack of empathy towards others is a sign that your emotions may be lying to you. This is because when you're not considering other people's feelings or perspectives, you're not taking into account how your actions may affect them. This can cause you to make decisions that are selfish and not in the best interest of yourself or others. For example, if you're in a conflict with someone, a lack of empathy can cause you to become defensive and not hear the other person's perspective, which can escalate the conflict. It's important to recognize when you're lacking empathy and try to practice active listening and empathy building exercises to improve your relationships and decision making. People who lack empathy may appear cold, callous, or indifferent to the feelings of others, and may have difficulty forming and maintaining close relationships. They may also be prone to aggressive or abusive behavior towards others, as they may not recognize or care about the impact of their actions on others. Lack of empathy can be a feature of various mental health conditions such as narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, and borderline personality disorder. It can also be a learned behavior stemming from early experiences of neglect, trauma, or abuse. To overcome a lack of empathy, it is important to develop an awareness of the impact of one's actions on others and to practice active listening and empathy building skills. This can involve focusing on the feelings and perspectives of others, practicing non-judgmental listening, and learning to recognize and express emotions in oneself and others. So there you have it. 5 signs that your emotions may be lying to you. Remember, emotions are important and can provide valuable information, but it's important to be aware of when they may be clouding your judgment. Please like and subscribe to my channel. If you notice any of these signs, take a step back and try to think more objectively about the situation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.